I used to believe that the people closest to you were the ones who would protect you the most. I believed my best friend would stand beside me through anything. I believed the person I loved would trust me enough to hear my side of the story. I was wrong, because one lie from the person I trusted most destroyed everything I had built. My name is Emily, and this is the story of how my best friend tried to ruin my life, and how one forgotten security camera exposed the truth. Before everything happened, my life was simple. I had a job I loved, a relationship I was proud of, and a small circle of friends who I thought would always be there for me. My boyfriend Daniel and I had been together for almost 5 years. He was the kind of person who remembered small details about me. He knew my favorite coffee order. He knew which movies made me cry. He knew that whenever I was stressed, I would reorganize my entire apartment because cleaning helped me feel in control. We weren't perfect, but we were happy. Or at least, I thought we were. My best friend Sarah had been part of my life even longer than Daniel. We met in university when we were both struggling to figure out our futures. She was the person I called when I got my first job interview. She was the person who celebrated with me when I got promoted. She was there when Daniel and I first started dating. Everyone always joked that Sarah and I were inseparable, and I believed that. I trusted her more than anyone. That was my biggest mistake. Looking back now, there were small signs I ignored. Little moments where Sarah's jealousy showed through. Whenever Daniel complimented me, she would laugh and say things like, "You two are lucky. Some people never get that kind of attention." Whenever I achieved something at work, she would say, "You always get opportunities so easily." At the time, I thought she was joking. I thought that was just her personality. I never imagined those comments were coming from someone who secretly resented me. The day everything changed started like any normal day. I woke up early, got ready for work, and kissed Daniel goodbye before leaving. He smiled and said, "Don't forget we're having dinner tonight. I made a reservation at your favorite restaurant." I smiled. I wouldn't forget. I've been looking forward to it all week. I had no idea that by the end of that day, I would be sitting alone, watching my entire world fall apart. Around lunchtime, I noticed something strange. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages were coming in, one after another. At first, I thought it was a group chat. Then I opened my phone, and my heart dropped. The first message was from one of my friends. "Emily, is this true?" I stared at the screen. True? What were they talking about? Then another message appeared. "I can't believe you would do that to Daniel." My hands started shaking. I opened social media. That was when I saw it. A post that had been shared by Sarah. It was a picture of me and another man. A picture taken completely out of context. The caption said, "I never thought I would have to say this, but sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most." My stomach turned. Thousands of thoughts rushed through my mind. Who was that man? Why was she posting this? Then I saw the comments. People were already judging me, calling me a liar, calling me a cheater, saying Daniel deserved better. I immediately called Sarah. She answered after a few seconds. "Sarah, what is this?" There was silence. Then she sighed. "Emily, I didn't want people to find out this way." I felt confused. "Find out what? Because I have no idea what you're talking about." Her voice became cold. "Stop pretending. Everyone knows." My heart started beating faster. "Knows what?" She paused. Then she said the words that changed everything. "They know you cheated on Daniel." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "What are you talking about? I never cheated on him." But Sarah didn't sound surprised. She sounded prepared. "Emily, I saw you. I saw the messages. I saw you meeting him." My entire body went cold. "Who did you see me meeting?" Another pause. Then she said a name that made absolutely no sense. Because the person she accused me of being with was someone I barely knew, someone from my workplace, someone I'd only spoken to a handful of times. Sarah, you know that's not true. But she didn't listen. Nobody listened. By the time I arrived home, Daniel was already there, and I knew immediately something was wrong. He wasn't angry, he wasn't yelling, he was hurt. That hurt more than anything. Daniel, he looked at me. His eyes were filled with disappointment. I just wanted you to tell me the truth. I felt tears forming. I am telling you the truth. I didn't do anything. He shook his head. Then why did Sarah show me everything? My heart sank. Everything? He pulled out his phone. On the screen were screenshots, messages, photos, proof that looked real. But I knew I hadn't done any of it. Someone had created a perfect lie, and everyone believed it. I looked at Daniel and realized something terrifying. The person who did this didn't just want to hurt me. They wanted to erase my entire life, and they were succeeding. Because within 1 week, I would lose my relationship. I would lose my job. I would lose almost every friend I had. And the person standing beside me, pretending to comfort me, would be the same person who destroyed me. But Sarah made one mistake. She thought she had covered every piece of evidence. She didn't know there was one camera she had forgotten about. A camera that would reveal everything. And when the truth finally came out, nobody would ever look at Sarah the same way again. For the first few days after Sarah exposed her lie, I felt like I was living someone else's nightmare. Every morning, I woke up hoping it had all been a misunderstanding. I hoped I would open my phone and see a message from Daniel saying he was sorry. I hoped my friends would realize Sarah had twisted the truth. I hoped someone would finally ask me what really happened. But every day, the opposite happened. The world I knew slowly disappeared. Daniel barely spoke to me. My friends stopped inviting me places. People at work whispered whenever I walked past. And the worst part was, nobody wanted to hear my side. They had already decided I was guilty. The person who hurt me the most was Sarah, because she didn't act like someone who had betrayed me. She acted like someone who was trying to save me. She called my friends and told them she was worried about me. She told people she didn't want to expose me. But she felt like she had no choice. She made herself look like the victim. And somehow, everyone believed her. One evening, I sat alone in my apartment staring at the pictures on my wall. Pictures of memories that suddenly felt fake. There was one picture of me and Sarah from our university graduation. We were standing outside the building, laughing and holding our certificates. Back then, I truly believed she would be in my life forever. I never imagined that the same person smiling beside me would be the person trying to destroy me. My phone rang. It was my manager. I answered immediately. Hello? There was a long pause. Then I heard the words I was terrified of hearing. Emily, we need to talk about what's happening. My heart sank. What do you mean? We've received complaints about your behavior. I sat up straight. My behavior? What complaints? Another pause. About your relationship with a coworker. I couldn't believe it. Someone had taken the lie even further. Those accusations are false. I never had a relationship with anyone at work. My manager sighed. I understand you want to explain, but until we investigate, we have to suspend you. I felt numb. My job. The job I worked so hard for. The job I spent years building. Gone because of a lie. After the call ended, I sat on my couch and cried. Not because I was guilty, because I was helpless. Someone had created a story about me, and everyone was treating it like the truth. The next morning, I decided I needed answers. I went to Sarah's apartment. I needed to look her in the eyes. When she opened the door, she looked surprised, but not shocked. Almost like she knew I would come. Emily, I pushed past the awkward silence. Why are you doing this? Her expression changed. What are you talking about? Don't pretend. You know exactly what I'm talking about. She crossed her arms. I'm trying to help you. I stared at her. Help me? Yes. Maybe if you admitted what you did, people would forgive you. I felt my anger rising. I didn't do anything. Sarah looked disappointed. That was the moment I realized something. She wasn't trying to convince me. She already knew the truth. She knew I was innocent, but she wanted everyone else to believe I was guilty. Sarah, why? For a second, her face changed. A flash of emotion appeared. Jealousy, anger, resentment. Then it disappeared. You always had everything, Emily. I froze. What? She laughed quietly. You don't even realize it, do you? I stared at her. You had the perfect relationship, the perfect job. Everyone loved you. That's why you ruined my life? She looked away. I just showed people who you really are. My heart broke, not because I believed her, but because I finally saw her. The person I called my best friend was never happy for me. She had been competing with me the entire time, but there was something she didn't know. While she was talking, I noticed something on her kitchen counter, a printed document. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Then I saw a familiar name. My name. I walked closer. Sarah immediately grabbed the papers. Don't touch that. The panic in her voice caught my attention. What was that? Nothing. But it wasn't nothing, because I saw something before she hid it. A date. A date from 2 weeks before she accused me. That meant one thing. This wasn't a sudden betrayal. She had planned it. I left her apartment with more questions than answers. But for the first time in days, I felt something I hadn't felt before. Hope. Because if Sarah planned this, then she had made mistakes. People who create lies always leave something behind. A mistake, a clue, a piece of evidence they forgot to erase. That night, I started investigating everything. I checked every message, every photo, every detail. And then I noticed something strange. The photo Sarah posted of me with my coworker, the angle was impossible. It wasn't taken by someone standing nearby. It looked like it came from somewhere higher, like a security camera. I stared at the picture for almost an hour. Then I remembered something. The restaurant where the photo was supposedly taken had cameras outside. Cameras that recorded the entrance. Cameras that recorded everyone who walked in. Including whoever took that picture. My heart started racing. Because if I could get that footage, I might finally prove the truth. The next morning, I drove straight to the restaurant. I walked inside and asked to speak with the manager. I need to see your security footage from 2 weeks ago. The manager looked confused. Why? I took a deep breath. Because someone used your camera footage to frame me. The manager looked at me carefully. Then he said something I never expected. Actually, there is something strange. My heart stopped. What? He looked through his computer. One of our cameras stopped recording that day. My hope disappeared. Stopped recording? He nodded. But he looked at another screen. There is one backup camera. I leaned forward. What camera? The manager pointed toward the screen. A camera nobody usually checks. I felt my heartbeat getting louder. Where was it? He turned the monitor toward me, and when I saw the location, I realized Sarah's biggest mistake. She thought she controlled the evidence. She thought she had deleted everything. But she didn't know about the forgotten camera. And that camera was about to reveal a truth that would destroy her entire story. I stood frozen in front of the security monitor. For days, I had felt like I was fighting a battle I could never win. Everyone had evidence against me. Everyone believed Sarah. Everyone thought I was the person who had destroyed my own relationship. But now, there was finally a chance that the truth existed somewhere. The restaurant manager looked at me carefully. "Are you sure you want to see this footage?" I nodded. "Yes." My voice shook, but I didn't care. I needed answers. The manager pulled up the date Sarah had claimed I met my coworker. The screen loaded slowly. Every second felt like an hour. Then the footage appeared. At first, I saw myself. My heart jumped. There I was, walking into the restaurant, exactly like the picture Sarah posted. But something immediately felt wrong. Because the picture she shared only showed one moment. It showed me standing near my coworker. It made it look like we were meeting secretly. But the video showed the full story. I walked into the restaurant because my manager had asked me to speak with my coworker about a work project. There was nothing romantic, nothing suspicious, nothing hidden. We talked for less than 10 minutes. Then I left. That was it. The entire accusation was built on a few seconds taken out of context. I almost cried from relief, but then the manager paused the video. "Wait." I looked at him. "What?" He zoomed in on the corner of the screen. "Look there." My eyes followed where he pointed. A few minutes before I arrived, someone else entered the restaurant. Someone familiar. Someone I never expected to see. Sarah. My entire body went cold. "No." I stared at the screen. Sarah walked inside carrying her phone. She wasn't surprised. She wasn't confused. She looked completely calm, like she knew exactly what she was doing. The manager continued playing the footage. Sarah sat at a table near the entrance. Then she kept looking toward the door, waiting for me to arrive. My hands started shaking. She wasn't discovering anything. She wasn't catching me. She was setting me up, but I still didn't understand one thing. Why? Why would she go this far? Then the footage revealed something even worse. A few minutes after I left, someone joined Sarah at the table. When I saw who it was, I couldn't breathe. It was Daniel's younger sister, Olivia, the same person who had been sending me angry messages, the same person who told me I had broken Daniel's heart, the same person who said she was disappointed in me. They were sitting together, talking, laughing, like they had planned everything. I felt sick, because this wasn't just Sarah. She had help. The manager looked at me. "Do you know those people?" I nodded slowly. "Yes." My voice was barely a whisper. "They're the people who destroyed my life." I asked the manager if I could get a copy of the footage. He hesitated. "I'm not sure if I'm allowed to give it to you." "I understand," I said. "But please, I need this." After explaining everything, he agreed to help. I left the restaurant, holding the evidence I had been searching for. For the first time in weeks, I felt powerful again. But I knew I couldn't rush. Sarah had already convinced everyone I was a liar. If I confronted her too soon, she would twist the story again. I needed a plan. I needed everyone to see the truth with their own eyes. That night, I watched the footage again and again. Every time, I noticed something new. Sarah wasn't acting like someone who was angry or hurt. She was acting like someone who was enjoying the moment. She wanted me to suffer. Then I noticed something else, something that made my stomach drop. After Sarah and Olivia finished talking at the restaurant, Sarah looked directly toward the security camera. For a second, she smiled. A small smile, like she knew exactly where the camera was. I paused the video. My heart started racing. If she knew about the cameras. Why did she leave this behind? Unless she didn't know about this one. The forgotten camera. The camera hidden above the entrance. The camera she never noticed. The one piece of evidence she couldn't control. The next day, I decided to do something I never thought I would do. I called Daniel. He answered after several rings. "Emily?" His voice sounded tired. "I need you to meet me." There was silence. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Daniel, please." He didn't respond. "I know you think I betrayed you," I said, "but I found something you need to see." Another long pause. Finally, he asked, "What is it?" I looked at the footage on my laptop. The truth. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe the next morning. When Daniel arrived, he looked different. The confident, happy man I knew was gone. He looked hurt, confused, like he had been questioning everything too. He sat down across from me. I don't know what you expect me to say. I opened my laptop. I don't need you to say anything. I pressed play. For the first few seconds, Daniel watched silently. Then he saw Sarah enter the restaurant. His expression changed. What is this? Keep watching. Then Olivia appeared. His face went pale. No. He leaned closer to the screen. That's my sister. I nodded. I know. The footage continued, and with every second that passed, Danielle looked more devastated, because the person he trusted, his own sister, had helped destroy the woman he loved. When the video ended, neither of us spoke. Finally, Daniel looked at me. His eyes were filled with regret. Emily. I looked away. I told you the truth. He swallowed hard. I know. Those 2 words hurt more than an apology, because they meant he finally believed me. But the damage had already been done. My job was gone. My friendships were broken. My reputation was destroyed. And Sarah was still walking around pretending she was innocent. Daniel looked at me. What are we going to do? I closed my laptop. For weeks, I had been trying to prove I wasn't guilty. But now, I wanted more than that. I wanted everyone who abandoned me to see the truth. I wanted Sarah to experience the consequences of what she did. And I knew exactly where to start, because I had one thing Sarah didn't know about. The footage. And I was going to make sure the entire world saw it. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could finally breathe. I had spent so many days defending myself against a lie that I started questioning my own reality. I lost my relationship. I lost my job. I lost friends who I thought would stand by me forever. All because Sarah created a story and convinced everyone to believe it. But now I had something she couldn't argue with. The truth. Daniel sat across from me in the cafe, staring at the security footage on my laptop. He watched it again, then again. Each time, his expression changed. The anger he once had toward me slowly disappeared, and something worse replaced it. Regret. Emily. I looked at him. I don't even know what to say. I stayed quiet, because for weeks I had been begging him to listen, begging him to believe me, and now that the truth was finally in front of him, I didn't know if words were enough. I should have trusted you, he said quietly. I looked down at my coffee. Yes, you should have. He closed his eyes. I was so angry. Everyone was telling me the same thing. Sarah showed me the messages. Olivia kept telling me you were lying. I looked at him, and you believed them. He nodded. I did. That hurt. Even though I knew he was apologizing, the pain was still there. Because when I needed him the most, he chose to believe everyone else. I thought I knew who you were, Daniel whispered. You did know who I was, I replied. You just forgot. The silence between us was heavy. Then Daniel leaned forward. Please let me help fix this. I almost laughed. Fix this? How could he fix something that had already broken? My reputation was damaged. My career was destroyed. People had already decided who I was. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let Sarah walk away from this. Not after everything she did. Not after she looked me in the eyes and pretended she was helping me. The next morning, Daniel and I made a plan. We wouldn't confront Sarah immediately. We needed more proof. Because Sarah was smart. She knew how to manipulate people. If we accused her without enough evidence, she would turn herself into the victim again. So we started looking deeper. We went through every message, every screenshot, every piece of information Sarah had shared. And then we found something strange. The screenshots she gave Daniel had been edited. Small changes, almost impossible to notice. But they were there. The timestamps didn't match. Some messages were missing. Some words had been removed. Sarah hadn't just lied. She had created fake evidence. But there was one question we still couldn't answer. Why? Why would someone go through all this effort to destroy me? That was when Daniel remembered something. There was something Sarah said a few months ago? I looked at him. What? He hesitated. She asked me if I was happy with you. I frowned. What do you mean? She said I deserved someone who understood me better. My stomach dropped. Did she say anything else? Daniel looked uncomfortable. She said sometimes people end up with the wrong person because they're afraid to start over. I felt a chill, because suddenly everything made sense. Sarah didn't just want to ruin my reputation. She wanted Daniel, the person I loved, the life I built. She wanted everything I had, but there was more. Daniel pulled out his phone. I found something else. He showed me a conversation between him and Olivia. The messages were from months ago. At first, they seemed normal. Then I saw one message from Olivia. "Are you sure she's the one you want?" Daniel had replied. "Of course. Why?" Olivia responded. "Just asking. Sarah seems like she understands you more." My heart sank. They had been planting doubts long before the accusation. This wasn't a sudden betrayal. It was a plan that had been developing for months. Sarah had been slowly trying to replace me. The next step was exposing her. That evening, I made a decision. I invited everyone who had judged me to a meeting. My friends, my former coworkers, Daniel, Olivia, and Sarah. When Sarah received the invitation, she immediately replied, "Why are you doing this? Are you trying to embarrass yourself more?" I stared at the message. Even now, even after everything, she still believed she had won. I replied, "Just come. You'll finally understand what really happened." The day of the meeting arrived. Everyone sat around the room. The same people who had turned their backs on me. The same people who believed Sarah without question. Sarah walked in confidently. She smiled. "I don't know why I'm here, but I hope this helps you move on." I looked at her. For a moment, I saw the person I used to call my best friend. Then I remembered the weeks of pain, the humiliation, the loneliness. I connected my laptop to the television screen. Sarah's smile disappeared. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. I pressed play. The security footage appeared. Everyone watched silently. At first, Sarah looked confused. Then, she saw herself on the screen. Her face changed, because she knew. She knew exactly what everyone was about to see. The room became silent as the footage showed her meeting Olivia. Whispers started immediately. People looked at each other. Sarah quickly stood up. "This doesn't prove anything." But nobody was looking at her anymore. They were watching. They were seeing the truth. Then Daniel spoke. "Why were you there, Sarah?" She looked at him. "I was just trying to help." "No," Daniel said. His voice was different, stronger. "You were planning this." Sarah's expression changed, and for the first time, she looked scared, but then she did something I expected. She started crying. "I can't believe you're accusing me after everything I've done for you." I almost couldn't believe it, even when caught. She was still trying to manipulate everyone, but she didn't know something. I had one more piece of evidence, something that would destroy her final excuse, because while Sarah was busy controlling the story, she forgot about the one person who knew everything. The person who helped her create the lie. And that person was about to reveal the truth. The room was silent. Everyone was staring at the screen. The security footage had changed everything. For weeks, Sarah had controlled the story. She decided what people saw. She decided what people believed. She made herself look like the person who was protecting everyone from me. But now everyone had seen the truth. They saw her meeting Olivia. They saw that she had been there before I even arrived. They saw that this wasn't an accident. It was planned. Sarah stood in the middle of the room, looking around at everyone. But for the first time since this nightmare started, she didn't look confident. She looked nervous. "This proves nothing," Sarah repeated. Her voice was louder this time, almost desperate. "You're all jumping to conclusions." I looked at her. "Really, Sarah?" She turned toward me. "Yes." I couldn't believe her. "You were at the restaurant before I even arrived. You met Olivia after I left. You showed Daniel edited messages. You spread a story about me without ever asking me the truth." Sarah crossed her arms. "I was trying to protect him." Daniel looked at her. "Protect me from what?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out, because she didn't have an answer, not a real one. Then Olivia suddenly stood up. "Sarah, stop." Everyone turned toward her. Sarah looked shocked. "Olivia?" Olivia looked down at the floor. She looked terrified. "I can't do this anymore." My heart started racing, because I knew she was finally going to tell the truth. Sarah stepped closer to her. "What are you talking about?" Olivia shook her head. "You told me this would never happen." The room became even quieter. Daniel looked confused. "What would never happen?" Olivia looked at her brother. Then she looked at me. "I'm sorry." Those two words meant more than anything, because for the first time, someone who helped hurt me admitted it. "I didn't think it would go this far." Daniel's face changed. "What did you do?" Olivia wiped away her tears. "Sarah came to me months ago." Sarah immediately interrupted. "That's not true." But Olivia continued. "She told me she was tired of watching Emily have everything." My stomach tightened. "She said Emily didn't deserve you." Daniel looked at Sarah in disbelief. Olivia kept talking. "She told me that if Emily was gone, you would finally see who was right for you." Everyone looked at Sarah. Sarah's face became pale. "She made it seem like Emily was going to hurt you eventually." I stared at Olivia. "So you helped her?" Olivia looked ashamed. "Yes." The honesty hurt, but it was better than another lie. "I helped her create doubt. I showed Daniel things Sarah told me to show him. I believed her." Daniel looked heartbroken. "You were my sister." Olivia started crying. "I know." "No," Daniel said quietly. "You didn't just hurt Emily. You destroyed my trust too." Sarah looked between them. She realized something. She was losing control. Everyone she had used was turning against her, but then she did what she always did. She attacked. "You're all blaming me because it's easier than admitting Emily isn't perfect." I looked at her. "You're right. I'm not perfect." The room went quiet. But I never lied. I never betrayed anyone. I never destroyed someone's life because I was jealous. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "You think you've won?" I stared at her. "I know I have." She laughed, a cold, bitter laugh. "You have no idea what you're talking about." That sentence caught my attention because it didn't sound like someone who was defeated. It sounded like someone who still had a secret. Daniel noticed it too. "What does that mean?" Sarah looked at him. Then she smiled slightly. "You really think this was all about Emily?" Nobody spoke. I felt a chill. "What are you saying?" I asked. Sarah looked at me. "You think I wanted your relationship because I was jealous?" She laughed. "You were only part of the reason." My eyebrows tightened. "What does that mean?" Sarah looked around the room. Then she finally said something I never expected. "I didn't just want Daniel." A heavy silence filled the room. "I wanted your life." I stared at her. "My life?" "Yes." Her expression changed. "You had everything I spent years trying to get." I shook my head. "That doesn't explain anything." Sarah looked away. Then she said something that shocked everyone. "Your job." My heart stopped. "What about my job?" Sarah smiled. "Do you really think your suspension was only because of the cheating accusation?" Nobody moved. I felt my stomach drop. "What did you do?" Sarah didn't answer, and that scared me more than anything, because suddenly I realized the cheating lie was only one part of her plan. She hadn't just wanted to take Daniel. She had been trying to destroy every part of my life. My relationship, my career, my reputation, everything. Daniel stepped forward. "What did you do to Emily's job?" Sarah stayed silent, but her silence said enough. Then my phone started ringing. It was a number I recognized. My former workplace. I answered. "Hello?" My old manager's voice came through. "Emily, we need to talk." I walked away from everyone. "What happened?" There was a pause. Then he said, "We found something during our investigation." My heart started pounding. "What?" "Someone accessed your work account." I froze. "Someone?" "Yes." My hand tightened around my phone. "Do you know who?" Another pause. Then he said the words that made my blood run cold. "We traced the login." I looked back at Sarah. She was watching me, almost like she already knew what they were going to say. My manager continued. "Emily, the person who accessed your account was Sarah." I couldn't move. The room disappeared around me, because now I knew. Sarah didn't just frame me for cheating. She had planned to destroy my entire future, and she had been hiding one final secret. A secret that would finally expose how far she was willing to go. I stood there holding my phone, unable to move. The room was silent, but I could barely hear anything around me. All I could hear were my manager's words repeating in my head. The person who accessed your account was Sarah. For weeks, I thought the worst thing Sarah had done was spread a lie about my relationship. I thought she was just jealous. I thought she wanted Daniel, but I was wrong. She didn't just want to take something from me. She wanted to erase me completely. My career, my reputation, my future. I slowly turned around and looked at Sarah. She was watching me carefully. And that was when I knew. She already knew. She knew the truth was coming out. Sarah had always been good at pretending. She could cry on command. She could make herself look innocent. She could convince people she was the victim. But now, there was nowhere left for her to hide. I ended the call with my manager and walked back into the room. Daniel looked at me. "What happened?" I didn't take my eyes off Sarah. "They found out who accessed my work account." Everyone looked confused. Then I said the name. "Sarah." The room immediately changed. My friends started whispering. Daniel looked at her in disbelief. "Sarah, what did you do?" Sarah shook her head. "I don't know what she's talking about." I almost smiled, because that was exactly what she always did. Deny, manipulate, pretend. But this time, I was ready. "I didn't just find out from my manager," I said. "I have proof." Sarah's expression changed slightly, only for a second, but I saw it. Fear. I opened my laptop and connected it to the television. I asked my workplace to send me the access records. The screen showed a list of login attempts, dates, times, locations. Then I pointed at one entry. This was the night before Sarah accused me of cheating. Everyone stared at the screen. Daniel stepped closer. "Is that her?" I nodded. The login came from Sarah's device. Sarah quickly interrupted. "That doesn't prove anything. Someone could have used my computer." I looked at her. "You're right." She seemed relieved for a moment, until I continued. "That's why I asked for more." I clicked the next file. A security image appeared. It showed Sarah sitting at a cafe, using her laptop, the same laptop connected to my work account. Nobody spoke. Sarah's face turned pale. "You followed me?" I shook my head. "No." I looked at her. "You made the mistake of leaving evidence everywhere." The room stayed quiet, because everyone finally understood. Sarah wasn't just a jealous friend. She had carefully planned everything. She had created fake messages. She had manipulated Daniel. She had convinced Olivia to help her, and she had tried to sabotage my career. But there was still one thing I didn't understand. Why? Why did she hate me enough to destroy my life? I looked at her. Why did you do this? For the first time, Sarah didn't immediately answer. She looked around the room, at everyone who had once believed her. Then she laughed, a quiet, bitter laugh. You all want to know why? Nobody responded. She looked at me. Because you never had to fight for anything. I frowned. That's not true. Yes, it is. Her voice became louder. Everything came easily to you. I stared at her. My job? Yes. My relationship? Yes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Sarah, I worked for everything I have. She shook her head. You don't understand. Then she said something I never expected. I spent my whole life being second. The room went silent. Sarah continued. My parents compared me to people like you. My friends always talked about your achievements. Everyone loved you. She looked at me, and I hated that. I felt sadness more than anger, because I finally understood. Sarah wasn't destroying me because I had hurt her. She was destroying me because she believed my happiness was proof of her failure. But that didn't excuse anything. A painful past didn't give someone permission to ruin another person's future. Daniel looked at her. You could have talked to us. Sarah looked away. No one would have understood. Daniel shook his head. No, you never gave anyone the chance. The room was silent. Then my phone buzzed. It was an email from my workplace. I opened it. My heart started racing. My suspension had been reviewed. They had found the accusations against me were false, and because the evidence showed someone had deliberately manipulated the situation. My suspension was officially removed. My job was being restored. I looked at the message again. After everything, I finally had something back. But I wasn't finished, because Sarah still needed to face the consequences of what she did. The next few weeks changed everything. People who had ignored my messages started reaching out. Friends apologized, coworkers apologized. Even people who had judged me admitted they were wrong. But the apology I waited for the most never came. Sarah never apologized. Instead, she tried one final desperate move. She told people I had manipulated everyone against her. She claimed I was getting revenge, but this time, nobody believed her, because everyone had finally seen the truth. The same person who exposed my betrayal had been the person betraying everyone all along. Months later, I stood outside my workplace again, the place I thought I had lost forever. I looked at the building and smiled. I had spent so much time trying to prove I wasn't the villain. But I learned something important. The truth doesn't need to chase lies forever. Eventually, the lies collapse on their own. But there was still one final thing I needed to do. I needed to decide whether Sarah deserved forgiveness, or whether some betrayals were too deep to forget. And my decision would be the one thing she never expected. After everything came out, my life slowly started coming back together, but rebuilding my life was harder than destroying it. That was something Sarah never understood. A lie could spread in minutes, but the truth had to fight its way back. For weeks, I watched people change their opinions about me. The same people who once whispered behind my back were now sending me messages. Some apologized immediately. Some tried to explain why they believed Sarah. Others simply disappeared because they were too embarrassed to admit they were wrong. At first, I wanted to be angry. I wanted to ask them why they didn't trust me. Why they believed a few edited screenshots over years of friendship. Why they were so quick to believe the worst about me. But eventually, I realized something. The people who truly cared about me were the ones who stayed when things got difficult. And the people who left. They showed me exactly where I stood in their lives. A few weeks after everything happened, I received a message from Sarah. I stared at her name on my phone for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to finally hear her admit what she did. The message was simple. Can we talk? I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to meet her, not because I missed her, not because I wanted our friendship back, but because I wanted closure. We met at the same cafe where Daniel and I had first watched the security footage. When Sarah walked in, she looked different. The confidence was gone. The perfect image she always showed everyone had disappeared. She sat across from me. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she said, "I know you hate me." I looked at her. "I don't hate you." She looked surprised. "I don't have enough energy left to hate you, Sarah." Her eyes dropped. "I'm sorry." Those words, the words I'd wanted to hear for so long. But hearing them now didn't feel the way I imagined. Because an apology couldn't undo everything. It couldn't erase the nights I cried alone. It couldn't give me back the friends I lost. It couldn't remove the pain. "Why?" I asked. She looked confused. "Why did you really do it?" Sarah was quiet. Then she finally admitted something. "Because I thought if I could make everyone see your flaws, they would finally notice me." I stared at her. "That was your plan?" She nodded. "I spent years feeling invisible next to you." I shook my head. "You were never invisible, Sarah." She looked up. "You were my best friend." Her eyes filled with tears. "I know." "No," I said. "You don't know. Because if you did, you would have never done this." The silence between us was painful. For a moment, I remembered the old Sarah, the girl who laughed with me, the girl who stayed up all night helping me study, the girl I trusted. But that person was gone. Or maybe that person never existed the way I thought she did. "I hope one day you forgive me," she whispered. I looked at her. "I hope one day you forgive yourself." She looked surprised. "But I can't be part of your life anymore." Her eyes filled with tears, and I knew it was the hardest thing I'd ever said, because losing a friend who betrayed you is complicated. You don't only lose the person, you lose every memory attached to them, every moment you thought was real, every promise you believed. I stood up. "I wish you had chosen honesty instead of jealousy." Then I walked away, and for the first time in months, I felt free. Daniel and I also had a lot to work through. The truth brought us back together, but it didn't magically fix everything. Trust is not a switch you turn back on. It is something you rebuild, slowly, day by day. He apologized many times, not just for believing Sarah, but for not fighting harder for me. "I should have known you better," he told me one night. I looked at him. "You should have trusted the person you spent 5 years loving." He nodded. "I know." The difference was, this time, he wasn't making excuses. He was taking responsibility, and that mattered. Over time, we started rebuilding what we lost. Not the old relationship, something new, something stronger. Because we both learned that love isn't just about being there during the good moments. It's about choosing each other when everything falls apart. Months later, I received another unexpected message. This time, it was from my former coworkers. They told me something incredible. The company had reviewed everything Sarah had done. The evidence showed she had intentionally tried to damage my reputation. Because of the investigation, she faced serious consequences for her actions. The same person who tried to destroy my future had ended up destroying her own. And the most satisfying part? I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to ruin her. I didn't have to get revenge. The truth did that for me. A year later, I stood in my office looking out the window. A year ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I had lost everything. But standing there, I realized something. Sometimes losing people is actually a gift. Because when everything is taken away, you finally see who was truly on your side. I lost a best friend, but I found my strength. I lost people who judged me, but I found the ones who believed in me. I lost the life I thought I wanted, but I built one that was even better. Sarah wanted my life. She wanted my happiness. She wanted everything I had. But she never understood one thing. My life was never perfect because of the things I owned. It was special because I earned it. And no lie could ever take that away. Years later, people still asked me how I handled everything, how I stayed calm, how I survived watching everyone turn against me. My answer was always the same. The truth may arrive late, but it always arrives. Because one forgotten security camera didn't just expose Sarah's lie. It reminded me of something I should have never forgotten. The people who truly belong in your life won't believe a rumor before they believe you. And the people who betray you will eventually reveal themselves. A year ago, I thought my life was over. I remember sitting alone in my apartment, staring at my phone as thousands of people judged me for something I never did. I remember the feeling of losing everything in a matter of days. The person I loved didn't trust me. My friends walked away. My career was taken from me, and the person who caused it all was someone I had called my best friend. Back then, I couldn't imagine ever being happy again. But now, standing in the same place where I once thought my life was falling apart, I realized something. Sometimes the moments that break you are the same moments that rebuild you. Because after everything happened, I stopped trying to prove my worth to people who had already decided not to see it. I stopped chasing apologies from people who hurt me. And I started choosing myself. A few months after Sarah's actions were exposed, I got a letter in the mail. At first, I thought it was another reminder of the past. Another problem. Another thing I had to deal with, but when I opened it, I froze. It was from my old workplace. They wanted to offer me a promotion. The same company that once suspended me because of Sarah's lies was now recognizing my hard work. My manager called me personally. "Emily, I want you to know something." I listened quietly. "We should have believed you sooner." Those words meant more than he probably realized, because for so long, I felt like everyone saw me as the person who needed to defend herself. But finally, someone admitted they were wrong. "I appreciate that," I said, "but I'm just happy the truth came out." My manager paused. "You know what impressed me the most?" "What?" "You never tried to destroy Sarah." I looked out the window. I thought about it. He laughed softly. "Most people would have." "Maybe," I said, "but I didn't want revenge to become the thing that controlled my life." And that was the truth. At one point, I wanted Sarah to suffer. I wanted her to feel the same pain she caused me. But eventually, I realized something important. The best revenge wasn't watching someone fall. The best revenge was building a life they could never take away from me. Daniel and I eventually got engaged, but this time, our relationship was different. Stronger. More honest. We didn't pretend problems didn't exist. We talked about everything. Trust, fear, mistakes, the things we both needed to improve. Because almost losing each other taught us something. Love isn't just about happy memories. It's about what you do when everything goes wrong. One evening, Daniel and I sat outside watching the sunset. He looked at me and smiled. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if that camera didn't exist?" I thought about it. For a moment, I remembered how hopeless I felt. Then I smiled. "I do. What do you think?" I looked at him. "I think the truth would have come out eventually." Daniel smiled. "You really believe that?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because lies need to be protected every day. The truth only needs one moment." A few years later, I saw Sarah again. I wasn't expecting it. I was leaving a bookstore when I noticed her standing across the street. For a moment, neither of us moved. She looked older, not physically, but emotionally. The confidence she once had was gone. She looked like someone who finally understood the damage she caused. She slowly walked toward me. "Emily." I nodded. "Sarah." There was an awkward silence. Finally, she said, "I heard about your promotion." "I'm happy for you," she replied. I was surprised. "Thank you?" She looked down. "I used to hate seeing you succeed." I didn't say anything. "I thought your happiness meant there wasn't enough room for mine." Her voice became quieter, but I was wrong. I looked at her. What changed? She gave a small, sad smile. Losing everyone made me realize I wasn't fighting for happiness. She paused. "I was fighting against you." For the first time, I saw something different in her. Not jealousy, not anger, regret. "I'm sorry, Emily." I believed she meant it, but forgiveness doesn't always mean letting someone back into your life. Sometimes forgiveness means accepting what happened and choosing peace. "I forgive you," I said. Her eyes widened. "You do?" "Yes." She looked relieved. "But that doesn't mean things will go back to how they were." She nodded. "I understand." And surprisingly, that was enough. There was no dramatic argument, no screaming, no final revenge. Just two people accepting that some chapters are meant to end. Looking back, the hardest part of the entire experience wasn't losing Sarah. It was realizing how easily people believed the worst about me. But that experience taught me something I will never forget. A person's character is not proven when everyone loves them. It is proven when everyone turns against them and they still choose to do what is right. Sarah tried to destroy my life with a lie. But in the end, she gave me something I never had before. The ability to see people clearly. The strength to stand alone. And the courage to start over. The security camera didn't just expose Sarah, it exposed every fake friendship, every false loyalty, every person who only stood beside me when things were easy. And after everything, I wouldn't change a thing, because the girl who lost everything became the woman who finally found herself. The truth didn't just save me, it set me free. Thank you so much for listening and being part of this story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more amazing stories coming soon.